All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking the Sampasādanīya Sutta, which is the 28th discourse in the Dīgha Nikāya. Now, to really grasp what's going on here, we need to set the scene. Picture this. We're in Pavarika's mango grove near Nalanda. The Buddha is staying there, and one of his absolutely chief disciples, Sariputta, approaches him. He bows, takes a seat, and then proceeds to make an incredibly bold statement to his teacher.
Sariputta drops this absolute bombshell. He says, I believe there's no other ascetic or Brahmin, whether past, future, or present, whose direct knowledge is superior to the Buddha. This moment is famously known as Sariputta's lion's roar. And you can see why, right? It's not just a polite compliment. It is a categorical, sweeping declaration of faith. He is saying with zero hesitation that literally no one in the entire history of the cosmos or its future is greater than the Buddha when it comes to awakening.
But the Buddha's reaction is what's really fascinating here. A lesser teacher might just smile, pat him on the back, and say thanks. But the Buddha, he immediately pushes back. He challenges Sariputta with a really piercing question. Have you encompassed their minds? He's basically asking, wait, have you read the minds of every single fully awakened Buddha from the past to know their exact ethics, wisdom, and freedom? Sariputta has to say no. Okay, what about all future Buddhas? Again, Sariputta says no. The Buddha even asks, have you encompassed my mind right now to fully know my exact qualities? And Sariputta admits, no, sir. So the Buddha is really pressing him here. How on earth can you make such a massive definitive statement without having some kind of omniscient mind-reading ability?
So, Sariputta freely admits he can't read the minds of all past, present, and future Buddhas. How does he defend his lion's roar then? Well, today we'll explore his brilliant defense across 6 key areas. The ultimate lion's roar, the walled city metaphor, mapping the human mind, visions and psychic powers, time, death and rebirth, and finally, power through supreme humility. We are going to watch Sariputta take this from a statement of seemingly blind faith and turn it into a tightly structured, logical proof of awakening.
That brings us to Section 2, the walled city metaphor, where we see him proving awakening through logic.
This is where Sariputta completely pivots. He goes from this unprovable, sweeping claim into an absolute masterclass in systematic deduction. To build this case, he brings in a concept called Dhammanvaya. This translates to inference from the teaching. It's brilliant because it shows he doesn't actually need magical omniscience to back up his claim. He doesn't need to scan the entire universe across all of time. He just needs logical inference based on the core principles of the Dhamma. To explain how Dhammanvaya works, Sariputta uses a super relatable metaphor. Imagine a king's frontier citadel. It's got massive, strong walls, high ramparts, and just one single gate. And standing at that gate is a really clever, astute gatekeeper. Now, as this gatekeeper walks the perimeter, he checks the walls and realizes there isn't a single hole, not even one big enough for a cat to slip through. Because of that, he can logically infer that any large creature entering or leaving this city absolutely must use that one single gate. Sariputta takes this exact logic and applies it to awakening. He knows that the gate to awakening involves specific things: abandon the 5 hindrances, establishing the 4 kinds of mindfulness meditation, and developing the 7 awakening factors. Since the Buddha perfectly understands and teaches this single necessary gate, Sariputta implicitly understands the necessary path of all Buddhas, past, present, and future.
Let's move into Section 3, Mapping the Human Mind, and look at the Buddha's unsurpassable categorizations.
Having established that there is only one gate to awakening, Sariputta needs to prove that the Buddha has absolute, unmatched mastery over it. He does this by walking us through the Buddha's sheer taxonomy of the human mind. He basically lists out the foundational, skillful qualities the Buddha mapped. We're talking the 4 kinds of mindfulness meditation, the 4 right efforts, the 4 bases of psychic power, the 5 faculties, the 5 powers, the 7 awakening factors, and the Noble Eightfold Path. Sariputta is pointing out that the Buddha didn't just hand us vague spiritual platitudes. He gave us a highly detailed, systematic blueprint literally designed to guide practitioners straight to the undefiled freedom of the heart. When it comes to skillful qualities, there is simply nothing beyond this left to be understood.
And it's not just about what to do. It's about the Buddha's precise understanding of how to do it. Sariputta logically contrasts different spiritual paths here. He points out that a painful practice with slow insight is naturally inferior in both ways, right? Because it hurts and it takes forever. On the flip side, a pleasant practice with swift insight is superior in both ways. It's a simple, logical contrast, but it shows the Buddha wasn't just promoting suffering for the sake of suffering. He actually understood the most efficient, optimal routes to awakening and charted them out flawlessly.
Now, You might be thinking this is all high-level meditative stuff, but Sariputta then details how the Buddha had extremely grounded insights into our everyday ethical behavior and speech. The teachings cover the basics: being honest, avoiding deceit and flattery, guarding the sense doors, eating in moderation. But it also includes things like speaking only valuable, timely counsel, and strictly avoiding backbiting or aggressive speech that's just designed to win an argument. This proves that the Buddha's knowledge wasn't detached from reality. True awakening touches and refines even our most mundane, day-to-day human interactions.
And because of this deep mastery of the mind, the Buddha can precisely understand how any individual will respond to his instruction. He can essentially diagnose exactly where someone is on the path. Step 1, ending 3 mental fetters, or chains, to become a stream enter. Step 2, weakening greed, hate, and delusion to become a once returner. Step 3, ending the 5 lower fetters for spontaneous rebirth. And finally, Step 4, ending the defilements entirely for ultimate freedom. The Buddha understands the actual mechanics of spiritual progression with total diagnostic precision.
Okay, on to Section 4. Visions and Psychic Powers, exploring the ignoble versus the noble. So, Sariputta shifts gears here, moving from everyday ethics and step-by-step growth into the extraordinary. He examines the Buddha's categorization of psychic phenomena, and the text makes a really fascinating distinction, strictly separating these powers into 2 buckets. First, you have the ignoble powers. These are still accompanied by defilements. We're talking flashy, magical feats, manipulating the physical world, multiplying yourself, walking on water, flying through the sky. But the Buddha elevates a totally different category, noble psychic powers. These are entirely free of defilements. It's about supreme psychological mastery. It's the ability to perceive the unrepulsive in the repulsive, or to stay completely equanimous and mindful no matter what external stimuli you're facing. According to the Buddha, true power isn't about defying physics. It's about absolute, unshakable mastery over your own perception and reactions.
Moving to Section 5, Time, Death, and Rebirth, and the Cosmic Scale of Memory.
Let's pan out even further now, like on a cosmic level. Sariputta explains how the Buddha's grasp extends way beyond single lifetimes. He charts this mind-bending timeline, noting how certain ascetic practitioners can develop deep immersion to recall past lives. Some can remember one life ago, down to specific details like their name, clan, and what food they ate. Others can look back 10 eons, recalling entire expansions and contractions of the universe. Some can even see back 40 eons. But here's the critical insight Sariputta makes. Because these practitioners can see backwards for millions of years, but not forever into the future, they fall into a trap. They form eternalist doctrines, basically believing the self and the cosmos are as steady as a mountain peak. The Buddha perfectly understands how these massive temporal memories lead to these specific, flawed philosophical views, and he surpasses them by seeing the entire picture without falling into those eternalist traps.
Furthermore, his knowledge isn't just about vast sweeps of time, it's about the precise ethical mechanics of rebirth. The Buddha possesses purified, superhuman clairvoyant knowledge. He sees exactly how sentient beings pass away and are reborn based strictly on the ethical weight of their actions. It's a clear equation. Bad deeds via body, speech, and mind, combined with wrong view, lead downward to the underworld or hell. Good deeds and right view lead upward to heavenly realms. He understands the mechanics of karma without a single exception.
Which leads us to our final section, Power Through Supreme Humility, and the Realized One's True Banner.
After Sariputta lays out this absolutely overwhelming, structured mountain of evidence proving the Buddha's unsurpassed knowledge, we hit the climax of the narrative. Another monk who's been listening to all of this, Venerable Udayi, is completely struck by an entirely different aspect of the Buddha's greatness. He chimes in and says, "It's incredible, sir. It's amazing, for even though the realized one has such power and might, he will not make a display of himself." Udayi is just blown away. He points out that if wanderers from other religions possessed even a fraction of a single one of these qualities, they'd carry around a banner to show it off to the whole world. But the Buddha, he possesses absolute, universe-spanning mastery, yet he has such few wishes, such deep contentment, and such profound self-effacement that he requires no banner at all.
Which leaves us with this really profound final question to reflect upon. Remember, Sariputta proved the Buddha's greatness not through blind faith, but by systematically mapping his unmatched knowledge of the mind, the cosmos, and the path to freedom. Yet the ultimate proof of that power ended up being the Buddha's complete lack of ego. If ultimate understanding requires complete self-effacement, what does that reveal about the true nature of power? How does shedding our ego actually become the ultimate gateway to understanding everything?
It's a massive concept to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this structured look at the Sampasādanīya Sutta has given you some incredible new insights.